Hello, well, this is Doris Heydel. I'm your coach and Reiki master here in Western New York. Um, I was trying to do a recording live earlier, and for some reason I wasn't able to. I have to do some things in my settings that I wasn't aware of. So my apologies, but I was able to save and retrieve my Spanish recording, and I'm making a few notes for me to share the same thing. Okay, so I was saying that today, it's a solar eclipse, full solar eclipse, even though the moon, it's a new moon. I was also telling them that, most of the time that people have like a full moon, or they always say, okay, well, get rid of what no longer serves, and try to have like new beginnings, like write things down or have new goals for things that you want to overcome or things that you want to start, and then get rid of the things that no longer need. So this time I wanted to bring something new and deeper, because we're going to talk about the sun, the moon, the seven planets that were, six planets that were aligned, and also the significance of each planet, for our purpose. Okay, as I was saying, things that are going to be transformative, things that are going to be changeable, things that are going to be transmutable, and things that are good for us and collectively for all the world. Okay, so yes, and also of course we do have to transform some things that no longer needs, but with the sun and the moon, I was trying to say that the sun represents our identity, our own self, and talk about our pure essence of who we are. And also the eclipse wants to remind us, what are the hidden things, or the things that are our shadows, the things that we have to overcome, heal, or finally get closure. Okay, for instance, we have to be honest with ourselves, and be honest and committed to the things that are good for our best and highest good. For instance, getting rid of habits, starting our new habits, like, if you need to do more exercise, or if you need to complete your classes, or if you need to like wake up earlier, meditate more, or finish your book, or do the things that you said that you were gonna start. Like sometimes we're motivated and enthusiastic about doing some things, but then do we really complete them? And for some of us, I, identify this myself, because I know that sometimes when we grow up, we don't have that nurturing thing with our parents saying, okay, I was very supportive. I gave you financially stability. But for me, I never had those nurturing words or things that were making me feel my self-confident, or have my self-esteem empowered, and then showing me that I was able to do everything I pursued or wanted in my life. And sometimes, we struggle a little bit harder when we don't have these things, and it affects us in our daily life, because sometimes we're like, okay, what are people gonna say? What, is this really gonna work? And what are people gonna say? Because there's a fear. So this sun, representing the father figure, the discipline, the boundaries, the of who we are, like making our voice heard, making ourselves understood, and also the energy of the giving and also receiving, right? Because we want to have that reciprocity of give and take. Are we being fair? Is it being justice? Am I being, really respected and understood? So this is something that has to be with your inner self, and also with the people that surround you. Is it, am I being given what I'm supposed to, or am I really doing all the stuff and the effort and the things that I'm supposed to? And sometimes when we always are, wanting to empower, always are the ones who want to have our ego on their way, and always having those boundaries, and always being, with our ego high, then that's what's going to happen, is that we're going to push away the things that we want to bring forth. Instead of people having closer to us, we're going to push them away, because, we have to have a little like balance, of the give and take. Okay, so there's a specific self-defense in there, and an observation that if you're only giving, instructing, and telling people what to do, or always pointing fingers instead of pulling inward, and always, paying attention to the feeling or to what's really happening in a different level of understanding, like with a different perspective, then we can make sure, if we're getting really the results that we want. Because even if you're women or male, we both are really searching for the same things, but we're not structured the same way, and not everybody perceives and see things the same way as we do or as you do. So sometimes we don't want to be judged, we don't want to be criticized, we don't want anybody to laugh at us. So okay, so am I being vulnerable? I don't want to show my weakness, I don't want anybody to see my weakness. So this is something that okay, so yes, the shadow is afraid of the light, but what is it being exposed? Are we being honest to ourselves? Are we saying the truth? Are we really committed to these things that we say we're gonna do, but are we really doing them? So instead of like judging our parents, oh, okay, well, you know what, it's easier for you, but I never had that parent that really gave me that nurture, or gave me that wisdom, or gave me that empowerment. You know what? I was telling to my people in Spanish, I was saying, you know what? I've heard a lot of motivators and leaders, like seminars in books, and like for instance John Maxwell or Zig Ziglar, or I don't know, all these people that I love to hear and read about. They motivate us. They enrich our thinking. They want us to step and think out of the box, and think beyond and think big, right? So that we can accomplish bigger things. But have you ever thought, what how do they get motivated? Because sometimes when we don't have those things, or you have to motivate yourself. I mean, who is the best and most important person? You. You begin or you end things. You start or you end things. Either you do or you don't do. So you're like the beginning and the end. You are your own creator. And then I know that when we don't have these things that make us like a strong structure, like a strong person, then, we have to, okay, write down and find ways that, or set goals that are reachable, in a short term, in a long term, like, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of also, okay, that's like the father, the solar, the giving, and the discipline. But then the moon side of the lesson, or the reflection of what we want to learn today is, okay, we have to have some empathy, a little bit of understanding, a little bit of compassion, and a little bit of, having a little bit of feeling in there, because sometimes it's really tough just to say, okay, this is the way that it has to be done. And, so what is the whole purpose of this, because at the end, whatever we do or don't do is going to come back to us, so just like the commandments say, do to others what you want others do to you. And also don't do to others when you don't want people to do to you, So it's very easy to judge from here, but you also have to think about, okay, am I being genuine? Am I really doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing? Because this is who you represent. You are here. Everybody can see you. No one can hide the sun with a finger like this. You can cover the sun, but at the end, the truth is always going to come out. Everybody's going to see you. Everybody from a different place is going to see you. So you can lie yourself as much as you want, but everybody surrounding you is going to know if you're doing the things that you're supposed to or not. So, okay. So from now on, even if you put it on the refrigerator, in your planner, in your agenda, in your phone, set goals, remind yourself the things that you said that you were going to do. And if you haven't heard our previous messages, I was exactly saying this, it's important. This is your commitment. This is your life, your journey. You start and you end this. And nobody's going to save you. You have to save yourself, It's easy to think like, oh no, somebody's going to do this, or, I got this. No. What if everything, what if you have nothing? Who do you have? Yourself. So, I feel like we have to be, the self reflection is that we can, delay things and think that we're always going to have someone give us the things that we need. But what if that doesn't happen? Self yourself. Self yourself and save yourself. And so this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. I almost said a recording in Spanish. So, what are the things that we really need emotionally, okay? And what are those things, those tasks, this goal that we have to do to do whatever it takes, like if it's something physical, if it's something in our work, if it's something that you want to develop, is it something that, okay, in your relationship, what is it that you want to accomplish, emotionally or financially, or setting those standards. So yes, those things that we didn't get, yes, it does affect us, okay? But okay, so if you notice, what are those things that you really need? You need to be able to communicate them, because sometimes we don't know exactly why we behave in some way and why do we react some ways. But if you know exactly when it happens, you have to tell the person or your employee or your kids, you say, I'm not perfect, but whenever this happens, I really need you to be supportive or patient, or just listen to me, or we need to be able to communicate better so that you know where I'm coming from or what exactly that I need, okay? Because it's we're not born with a manual. Like we're not born completely already ready for the person. So in order for you to develop some things or make things happen, the honesty and communication is very important. So, what are those things that you need to achieve, right? Emotionally, what are the things that you need to set boundaries or set some goals and limits? And also, because if we don't have a model, if you don't have exactly what you want, it's really difficult to do something that you're not sure of, or how to get there. So you need to find what is it that you need, set some goals, and then communicate and tell people around you or to yourself, okay, what is it that I need, okay? Because you know what, as I said, no one is going to do it for us. Yeah, sometimes we might have like nice people that are going to help us, but sometimes you have to do this on your own, like, we can always depend on others. We have to be independently strong and secure and willing, with a positive mind, with optimistic and faith that you're able to do this. So now we're still in the season of Leo, which I was telling in the previous message, but I know it was in Spanish. But this is the season of Leo, where we have to have strength, courage, and to be able to make these steps, okay? Because we can make an excuse all the time that we didn't have this, we didn't have that, blah blah blah. But you know what, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And so we have to be honest with ourselves, and knowing that this shadow, the reflection of the shadow or the darkness, sometimes show us, okay, am I really happy? Am I really getting the results that I want? Or am I communicating effectively? Okay, because as I said, you must know what you want, but are you getting what you want? Are you getting the results that you want? So we have to, sit down, and we have to be honest and say, okay, I'm putting all this effort, but is it really working? So yes, you have to stay strong. Don't quit. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong, but it's a time for reflection, because whatever is not seen needs to be seen, and whatever that is hidden is gonna show up. The truth is gonna show up, and the things that you do or don't do in life will pay you. Life will tell you, hey, remember you didn't do this and that. It's gonna tell you, well, this is the consequences of you not doing this and that. If you shouldn't be eating so much salt and eating so much of this fried food or whatever, and you have high cholesterol, so you're gonna wait until you have like a hospital emergency to like a wake up call. No, How many? Okay. Oh no, I want to lose weight. Are you doing something to lose weight? That's me. I know I have to do this. Or, am I really saving? Because, oh no, I want to save, but are you really saving? Because I think that this is like it's the same like karma. I always say like a credit card. Like, you can enjoy some things right now, but at the end, karma is gonna get you back. It's gonna come back. It's gonna say, oh, you remember this? You remember what you did in the past? Or, if you're not, whatever you do today is gonna have an impact, a result in tomorrow. So whether it's good or bad, you have to be careful what you do. And you cannot fast forward and pretend that nothing's going to happen, because it will reflect on you. It will show, hey, you said you were going to do this, you didn't do this, so this is what you're getting. So this is why we have to be honest to ourselves, and this is exactly what I wanted to say. Okay, so I was saying, that if it helps to have like a planner, or if you want to put it someplace, you can have like a chart or write on a piece of paper, like divided into different categories. Like you want to have goals in your education, in your health, in your relationships, in your love life, in like physical, in your spiritual, and then write these things down, like from things that are achievable, not fantasy, or not, don't put like super overwhelming, like a huge list. Just set yourself some goals that that you can work with. And because we can keep things hidden in the dark, or we can remain silently, like unquiet, lying to ourselves. But what happens when you remain in that shadow for a long time? You can come depressed, you can come frustrated. And the idea is for you to see yourself, see the shadow, see those things that you want to accomplish, you want to fix. The idea is like to go to the darkest soul, so that you can bounce back and say, okay, this is exactly what I don't need, I don't want, and I know how to do it. I don't want to feel like this anymore. Like, this is exactly what I need to prevent. And so the idea is to show you, okay? Because how do you know what's good from wrong? Or how do you know if you like something or not if you haven't experienced it? So sometimes people learn with good things, good examples, and some people don't follow those examples. Or let's say I tell you an advice, okay, I really recommend that you do this and this and that, but some people don't listen. It's like when you have a little kid and you say, hey, don't touch this because you're gonna get burned, don't touch this because you're gonna get burned, until the kid touches it and get burned. Yes, we want to avoid their pain, but sometimes they have to go through the experience. You can tell them advice and prepare them for the journey, but they have to have their own experiences so they can choose, because this life is the life of your will, and you have to choose between the right and wrong. And this is exactly the perfect example when there's a solar eclipse. This is what you want, and this is what you need to work on. So yeah. Okay, so I was saying that if there's something that you haven't finished that you said that you were gonna do, you can go back and restart. If you made a mistake or something happened in between the process, you can go back and make it better, make it stronger. Um, and it's not about judging. It's your own goal. So okay. So the important thing here is to acknowledge time, because time happens. Time goes by fast, and sometimes we need to be able to do those goals. Why? Because every cycle is meaningful. It's important. You plant the seed, you nurture the seed grows, you pay attention to the seed, and then with time you have a tree, and then you have the fruits. Like, life is a cycle. Moon is a cycle. Pregnancy is a cycle. It takes time for it to flourish, but you need to be able to be constant, to be mindful that everything is a cycle. It has a beginning and an end. And this is you are the beginning and you're the end. And you have to remember this, because we come alone and leave alone. So it's up to you whether the length and the results, you can be, you can work as hard as you can and have this result, or you can work slow and then it's going to happen. But for some people it will be faster than others, because some people keep delaying things, so how fast do you want it, and also some things require, having like a team player thing. If you didn't get the nurture, understanding, and that unconditional love and understanding since a child, and you know that there's certain things that you need in your relationship with your kids or with your coworkers, be able to say, you know what, I really need you to do this for me, because we have like, I think like our emotion has like holes that needs to be filled out. It's like half empty cups or halfway empty cups. I said, in order for me to be happy and motivated, I need this from you. And this is the part that, you need to be able to see exactly those things that you really, really need. So this is means working like a collaboration, okay? How are you gonna contribute to my life, and how am I gonna contribute to your life? So that there's no conflict. It's very good and very important to be able to write it down and make sure that people understand what is it that you need, and so that we can have some kind of maturity, because we can make all the excuses, or people that work around you saying all the excuses because they're not able to follow direction. And what I mean with unconditional is because I know that in order for you to have work, you input this work and you get a result, right? It's very conditional. You're gonna get this if you do that. Okay, but you have to be in the good and in the bad. It doesn't mean that as soon as you don't see the results, you're gonna quit. You have to be able to have patience, faith, and determinations. Or or if you want reassurance, you can always ask, and you can say, "Hey, I don't know what's wrong. Am I doing something?" If you need reassurance, but yes, some things are conditional, but you need to be able to be there all the time. The sun comes up all the time. The moon, yes, sometimes we don't see the moon all the time, but what I'm saying, every day is a new start, and so you need to be able to see the negative and the positives of everything, so that you can see what are the qualities, what are the strengths, so that you can focus on the area that need more attention. You cannot focus all your attention only in some things. Like I was telling earlier, I see people that are always in the gym, but then they have a huge mess in the house. Have you done your bills? Have you done your cleaning? Have you organized? Or have you done your physically? Are you doing your things that you have to do, your hair, your nails, you go to the doctor? When was the last time that you had a dental cleaning? Or when was the last time that you had a blood work done? You have to prioritize, but you need to do this because nobody else is going to do this for you. I think really important that I forgot to say that it's never late to do something, okay? Because sometimes as a kid, I know that some people had to be strong and had to be an adult and never really had a chance to even have fun. Okay, so yes, chances for some people are different from another, but don't put yourself down. Like, be optimistic that there's possibilities. Okay, so don't be hard on yourself, and make sure that people are understand you. And for the people that were taught to be strong and masculine, don't show your weakness, and it's good to lower lower yourself and having a little bit more empathy and be able to acknowledge, okay, maybe I did this wrong, I'm sorry, I'll do it better. Yes, you're right, there's nothing wrong about admitting the truth. Exactly, the truth always wins. The truth always wins. So nobody's gonna judge you. If the people love you or support you and see your worth, they're always gonna understand where you're coming from. But pretending to be strong all the time and lying to yourself, or avoiding these things is not going to make it any better. So this is just my advice. I was saying, how much time are you giving yourself? Time, like, you work hard, how much time are you giving yourself? Like, are you resting? Are you, you know, getting a massage? Or are you taking care of yourself or your people? Like, you work, 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 but are you spending time with your loved ones? Or when was the last time that you took a vacation? Because sometimes we can be hard. We're always going to have something to pay, but it's good to enjoy life. So you can be giving, 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 giving. You can get. Are you getting back that what you need? So yes, the moon and the sun, the giving and the receiving. Sometimes we're like, or are you demanding too much? Oh no, I need this, I need this, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. But it's not fair for the other person. How much are you giving? No one's here, like, people don't owe you something. Everybody deserves. Everybody is important. Everybody deserves to be loved and to be valued and to be seen. And that's exactly the energy of the sun. Like, are you expressing exactly and getting what you want? Are you making sure people know what you need? You don't need to tolerate something if you're not making happy. If you're not happy and you're not getting what you need, you don't have to stay there. If you say it over and over and people are not willing to give you that and not respecting you that, then you don't have to tolerate that. So you can create or you can destroy. As I said, either you put the effort in the creativity, or basically everything's gonna be torn down. We need to have things need to be working for you, in favor of you and others. Not only you, but as a collective energy. What is it that we're doing with effort? Some people try to get things in a shortcut, in the wrong way. And this is exactly why some countries have corruption, because they want everything easy. But then at the end, a few years after, everybody pays for the consequences. Everybody sees the bad results of corruption. Everybody has to put an effort. Everything has a price, And sooner or later, everybody will know the truth. So stay honest. Even if it takes longer, do the right thing. The life of righteousness. If everybody will apply this, there will be less suffering and more collaboration and more understanding and more empathy. But having cheaters and having liars and having people that are not willing to do the work is going to give you so much problems. So let's work on that. Okay, and also I was saying, everything has to be in balance and has to be with justice, in a balance with equilibrium. Sometimes people are so used to the only thing they know what to do, because, okay, this is what I learned to do and this is the only thing that I want to keep doing. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep doing this. But look, this is something very sad, but look at all these catastrophes that are happening around the world. Or even when COVID happened, some people that work outside of the house, and then, oh, now you have to stay indoor. And then they don't know what to do with themselves, because all they know what to do is this. Again, this is a reminder, you can work on material things, but what if you don't have the material things anymore? All you have is you and the people that love you. So you need to take care of all other things that you have been ignoring, or, be a little bit more thankful or more mindful. Like, when look at all these volcanoes, or all these tornadoes, all these floods, all these earthquakes. It's been, nobody expect such devastation, or nobody really thinks that something bad is going to happen. You have to enjoy every day, having faith. But would you regret if you did everything that you were supposed to? If you loved, if you lived, if you did the best of you, how are people going to remember you? If you did everything you were supposed to do, if you have to go, you did everything that you had to. But if you were that kind of person that were always out, far, only working and not giving attention to yourself, to your loved ones, hey, you missed it. You know, like when you die, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I spent all my time in the wrong things. What are your values? What is your priorities? And this is a time, you know, see your shadows, see the things, your reflection of yourself, and try to work on those, because this is your life. You have the right to make your own, like an author. I want to be a happy person. I want to be understood. I want to be lovable. I want to be able to love. And hey, you can always pretend that you have to have expectations from others to you, but you can also be the beginner. Imagine that you have A and B. A is waiting for B to make a move, and B is waiting for A to make a move. One has to make the effort. One has to start. If you always expect, you're wasting time. Be the initiator. You don't have to wait until the other one starts. So, you know, like, oh, you know, I was thinking, you know, assuming it's something that I don't like. You don't assume things. Communicate. Hey, how are you? Be the one who call. You know, this life is you give and you receive. You don't have to wait always for someone to make the move. Go for it. Make the first move. Make the first step. You know, what are you waiting for? There used to be a cartoon. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember it was a little like a chicken, and he says, "Nobody loves me. I nobody loves me." You know, people can stay in the victim mode all the time, complaining and whining. But isn't it great when you're able to say some things and really get the results that you want? So come on, guys. It's time not to be the victim, and this is something to be responsible, okay? Maturity and honest.